What's up? This is Alaric Ong, and today I'm here to interview Julie Houston. She's the #1 best-selling author of the book, Less Than Zero. Start a business, change your life. So welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you, Alaric. I'm really excited to be here.
So Julie, maybe you could start off by sharing more about your entrepreneurship journey. What got you started and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, well, that's a really good question. Usually I don't get asked that first. So I actually didn't have an entrepreneurial background growing up. I didn't really have much of a family or a relationship with them. So at a very young age, I was kind of independent and on my own and working. And I went into the military, I got out, and I was married and had my son. And long story short, when I left my ex-husband, I ended up financially in a place where I was homeless. I lived in women's shelters, and through these shelters, they'd bring us out to different organizations and picnics and things like that. And I met a gentleman who really changed my life. And the first thing it was about mindset. And from there on, he opened my eyes to a world of opportunity. And it became so important for me throughout the years as I grew and grew and grew to share that message with others. So that's where I came to the #1 best-selling book, Less Than Zero, Start a Business, Change Your Life.
I see. And so so who's this book for and what kind of people does it help?
Honestly, this book is for anyone just starting out or even seasoned entrepreneurs. I've had feedback from both where they're like, wow, these are things I haven't done in years that I need to start doing again. And others that are like, wow, like this is like really opening my mind to more things. And what's cool about it is in the book, it's a really short read, but in the book, at the end of every chapter is kind of like a workshop kind of like worksheet that you have to do, or something that you actively have to do, like networking, getting out of your comfort zone and getting out in the community, things like that. So it's kind of like a little guide, and it's all the free tools I used.
So I find it really interesting, like after you left your ex-husband and then you became a single mom. So it must be like really tough raising your kid, being a single mom. So how did you do that? Could you show me a step-by-step game plan, like actionable steps that you did?
So to be honest, it was very, very hard. I mean, I saved every little penny I could and got this tiny little apartment for us, and we got our food from the food banks. And I worked full-time and part-time, really crappy jobs, cleaning houses, whatever it took. And then put myself, at that point, I had my bachelor's through the military. So I put myself through college and got my master's degree because I thought, wow, if I get my master's, that'll really open up a world of opportunity prior to my entrepreneurial mind. And then from there, it kind of grew to a sense where I had a friend say, you should do sales. Like, you're really outgoing, you're easy to talk to. And I was like, no, like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't know about that. But I knew I started to get a burning desire, this passion inside of me, that there was way more out there for me than just what I was doing at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was taking those little steps and then gradually increasing, like surrounding myself with people that were way smarter than me, and surrounding myself with entrepreneurs and business owners and successful business owners and little things like that, that those tiny little steps gradually just built more and more.
So like, how much of capital did you use to start your first business? What business was it? And then how did you grow to who you are today?
I had less than zero. I had no money. I was emotionally, financially, mentally, and like just bankrupt in every way you could possibly think of. So I developed these free tools because my first business was real estate investing, but I still use them in all my businesses today. I have a marketing, a media company. I have an investing company still where I buy houses. So the book is based on the free things that I did that I could do because I couldn't afford to go out and hire a team or hire someone to help me or pay someone to create something for me. So I used grassroots ways to build every business that I own today.
Wow. And so for me, I've also worked with a lot of people and stuff. And I realized that the hardest thing to shift is the mindset from an employee to an entrepreneur, because the way an employee thinks and the way an entrepreneur thinks is completely different. For example, if let's say the business closes at 10 p.m., if at 9:50 p.m. there's a new customer that walks in, the entrepreneur is happy. Oh, we've got a new customer. Whereas the employee is like, oh, I'm gonna get off work soon. Why did you come to us? Right? So there's a huge shift in the mindset. So how did you? I believe you didn't have an entrepreneurial mindset to begin with. So like, how did you develop this mindset, and how was the process?
So actually it takes work. I mean, just like anything else, like it's habit forming. Like I'm sure you have a system and process or a daily routine that works for you where you focus a certain time or have your personal time or et cetera, et cetera. So it's like a balancing act of just utilizing your time appropriately and then really using your most beneficial time whenever you're most zoned in and focused on your more focused and higher level work.
But like, did you read books, or did you surround yourself with people who are entrepreneurial, or did you go for seminars?
I did. So if I saw a speaker that I knew of or somebody that I had been listening to and they were going to speak somewhere locally or even in my state and I could afford to get there, I would spend the money and I would go and get there. And that's where I really started building relationships. I would like spend time, money, and energy when I got to that point to drive and hear these people speak, support them in their business, call and see, how can I support you? What can I do to help you? That was a really big stepping stone. And then that allowed me to get even into more circles and rooms of people that were way smarter than me, way brighter than me, doing way more than me. And then here I am, I had these little dreams realizing I'm not even dreaming big enough. So it's amazing how like just these little steps that we don't realize day to day through just a conversation. You never know where a conversation can lead or who they know. I've gone out to dinner with groups of people I didn't know, but was invited by maybe one person I know. And in there, we've raised private capital in the millions. Walked out of that dinner and raised millions of dollars in private capital for real estate investing. So I mean, these little tiny steps to relationship building and being in the right rooms and surrounding yourself with the right people, I really believe plays a big role. And a big line, I always tell my son this all the time, show me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. And I'm a firm believer in that. I really am.
So how did you get yourself in those rooms? Did you have to pay a lot of money for them, or how did you do it?
So honestly, I started from the very bottom. I came in to the industry not knowing anything at all. And I just worked my way up every year by year by year to a point where I was building and architecting multi-million-dollar funnels and working with the highest clients possible, in certain niches that I was working in. But I started from the very bottom where you have to learn and you have to learn to grow and you have to start somewhere, and your age does not matter at all. And that's the key thing I also want to share. Like, age doesn't matter. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or even 60 years old. I know 60-year-old people that start businesses and start their entrepreneurial journey today, and they are crushing it.
Yeah, like I 100% agree. Like, I always tell people that the market doesn't care what your age is. The market only cares that you deliver value. And that's why, like, I started business when I was 19. And it really didn't matter. What mattered was I delivered value. Like, when I was 21 or 23, I built the largest Facebook marketing community in Singapore. And I knew that it doesn't matter. Like, no one knew my age, but it didn't.
That's
it
huge.
didn't really matter. Yeah.
And how old were you when you did it?
I was 21, and then right now I'm 27. Yeah, by 23 I was financially free. I retired when I was 23. Yeah.
See,
So,
age doesn't play a number. I believe that firmly,
correct.
especially as entrepreneurs too. There's a cycle in life. And I think if we all sit back and look at the cycles of things, even, look at vehicles, where they started and where they are today, look at, the telephone and where it started and where it is today. These cycles in our lives are continuing cycles of things that are constantly going to happen. They're constantly going to change, and we constantly have to adapt to the changes. And if we
Correct.
don't, we're going to drown.
So what are the top 5 or the top 3 to 5 learning points in your book?
Top 5 or 3, you said 3 or 5?
Yeah, 2 to 5 or as many as you want. The top few learning
There's
points.
so many. I can't decide which one I like the most. I think the top ones I recommend are, 1, relationships, building relationships, even if that's getting out in your community. An example of that would be, I live in a population of 876 people. I live in the middle of nowhere. There's farmland all around me. But I still am an investor, and I buy houses, and I get almost 90% of my deals locally from people that know me, the banker, the mail lady, because I go in and I introduce myself. So relationships would be the number one thing I highly recommend. No matter what business you're in, get out and build them. Even if it's somebody you don't know and they're pretty well known, so try to be of service. Ask, how can I help you? You'd be surprised how many people are willing to help you back if you just reach out and ask, how can I help you, once you get to know them. Another one would be strategic partnerships, making sure that your partnerships align and have synergy together. I think that it's really important, because those relationships are the ones that are really going to go for years and years and years down the road. And you never know, no matter what situation or where you're at in your business, that relationships and that synergy play a huge factor in that. And I would say the third most important thing would probably be, for sure, mindset, right off the bat. That'd probably be the number one thing, your mindset, focusing on your mindset, shutting off the naysayers. Like, I still to this day have naysayers about ideas and things that I'm going to do in business, but shut off the noise. And you can be successful.
Awesome. I love those. Like, those are like really, really good points. And I 100% believe in relationships and the mindset and all that as well. So tell me more about your current businesses. Like, I understand you invest in properties. I understand that you have Fuller Wallet Media. Tell me more about your current businesses and your ventures. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Fuller Wallet Media is a full media agency, almost a publishing agency, where we do everything from front end build outs to back end build outs to high ticket offers. So I have the knowledge and experience from product development to webinar, funnel build out, all the way through to a live event or a high ticket application. So we do everything in between, as well as a little bit of social media. We do organic social media. We also have a podcast, Fuller Wallet Media podcast show, which is on our website. So we have a lot of guests that we'd love to have on that just share a lot of valuable content, various businesses and entrepreneurs. It's not just one niche related. So I would highly recommend checking out the podcast that we have, because we do have a lot of experts sharing some great valuable information that still applies today in today's market, in today's world. So we have the podcast. So we do a lot through that. And through that, we're able to do a lot of affiliate marketing and affiliate relationships, and even additional monetizing through that, through building a show through that way. So we've had a lot of luck with Fuller Wallet Media in that sense. We do copywriting. I mean, you name it. We have a whole branded funnel schematic that we own and built out. So that's really what we do at Fuller Wallet Media.
Okay. And your investing out?
Yeah, so I've been investing for over 10 years now. And that's how I was able to retire my husband 6 years ago. So now all he does is work on the houses, and he has a crew that works with them every day. So he's retired and doesn't have to commute far to the city anymore. And we just work on properties out here. I do a lot of owner financing, picked up a couple rentals. So another thing, not to sound, not to sound off track, but being an entrepreneur also is that you don't have to have all your eggs in one basket too. Regardless of what the economy or the market does, being an entrepreneur, it looks easy to a lot of people, but there's a lot of hard times, and there's ups and there's downs. But the benefit is that through having the success is you have the option to have then other businesses, which I think is really important, especially today. How many people are looking for a side hustle, or the stay-at-home mom that knows how to do incredible work but has 6 hours a day, and probably does amazing copywriting or something like that. There's a world of opportunity for people out there, and I think it's important that people know that.
Got it. And so what's your vision for the future?
The vision that I have for the future, honestly, I'm actually reworking on my vision for the future, because if you asked me that about 3-4 months ago, it would be completely different than it is today. My vision today is to really build a business that adds true value. We only want to work with people that carry integrity, honesty, and transparency. And my company is actually built out so that if something happens to me or my spouse, the company will run and my team will still have a job and a paycheck, and Fuller Wallet Media will run regardless of anything that happens to me or my spouse. So Fuller Wallet Media is not just a business to me, it's really part of almost a legacy, in a sense of my team that's been with me over 10 years and making sure I keep them secure.
Got it. So the vision is to just make sure that this business can function without you.
Yes.
That's the angle that you're going for the next few months or years. Okay. And you mentioned that if I asked you this question 3 months ago, it would be different. So what would have been the difference?
I think the difference 3, 4, 5 months ago would have been that typical American advice of work really hard, work your way up, work harder, to a point of working 7 days a week, where I impacted my health and didn't realize at the point, but I thought that was the ladder to success and didn't realize it. And now coming from the other side, I realized, wow, life doesn't have to be this way, and you don't have to kill yourself to be successful either. And I think that's important too, to share with people.
Thank you. So last question, how can people follow you or get in touch with you or get your book?
Okay, so you can get our book at fullerwalletmedia.com/hope, HOPE. You can also go to our website at fullerwalletmedia.com and follow us there. If you go to the podcast page, you'll see a little pop-up come up, and you just opt in, stay tuned to stay tuned for future episodes that we'll be releasing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you. I've had a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.